Welcome to another episode of My Awesome Podcast.
Okay, so there were some videos you wanted me to see. I
Yeah.
think we're starting here. This is the first one, right?
Yeah, that's it.
And here, can I just go full screen and then?
Yeah,
Here we go. I guess I don't even know how to use my own equipment.
How are you, bitch? Hi, bitch. How are you, bitch?
Have you ever seen that?
I have seen that.
Okay.
And I've got well, do you want me to comment on this now, or you want me to watch the second video?
Watch the second one, and then we'll talk about it, because I
Okay.
got a couple things to say.
Okay, so this one, and I'm familiar with this YouTube page.
Okay.
Here we go.
Here's an example of how I contextualize an interaction with Bunny.
Help.
What help? She asks for help, then walks to the door. Seems pretty clear to me, so I let her outside. Okay. Pretty windy outside, though. You sure you want to be out here? Uh-oh, there goes the door. Yeah, it's kind of cold outside today. After seeing how cold and windy it was, Buns decides that inside is the place to be. Then she heads
Okay.
back to the board.
You want me to pause?
Yeah, you can pause it right there.
Something else with me.
Okay. So I'm not familiar with this page, and I'm not saying anything bad about this creator or anything, but my thing is I'm not so sure that these pets are actually communicating in the way that these owners think.
Okay, now I didn't know which ones videos you were gonna pick.
Yeah.
The first one I had seen, the TikTok one.
Yeah.
But let's start with this one because it was this channel, and this is What About Bunny, right?
Yeah.
And then there's another channel, and it's something speaks whatever there's a cat. And,
Oh, yeah.
and it was all started through. There was a research group doing research to find out how many words you could train an animal, and there's more that you can train dogs than you can cats.
Right.
But it was this channel and the other channel. Now everyone seems to do it, and you seem to be able to buy these buttons at like Walmart
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
But I've seen with this channel, what I want to say is like the most proof. I've seen Bunny, the dog here, articulate like feelings. Like one time, she had hit, I think, the button that said like anxious or something, and then the mom was like, "About what?" And then she hit stranger outside, and then the mom got up and looked outside and was like, "Oh yeah, it's the neighbor." And I'm thinking, okay, the dog heard something outside,
Yeah.
was feeling weird about it, and I kind of thought that was
Yeah.
kind of cool. I mean,
Yeah.
in my head, I've always kind of wanted a dog, and I thought I would do this.
Right. Yeah.
But now the first video, the TikTok,
Yeah.
here's my problem with that. It's funny for TikTok.
Right.
Are you not training the dog then? Are you just doing a joke?
Yeah, right. Because like, how many of those buttons actually would say like "bitch"?
Well,
You know, that
but-
could be the thing. Is that like maybe all those buttons? So it could be funny to regardless. Like maybe the dog is whatever they press, it's gonna be that.
Well, no. My deal is like you're training them that this means this. Like,
Yeah.
you know, if you're not going to take it seriously, you're just going to screw them up,
Yeah.
and they won't know like what you're talking about or.
Okay. So I guess backtracking. So I think that my biggest thing is so I believe that there are intelligent animals out there. Like I'm not saying that the animals and like dogs and cats and whatever pets don't have any intelligence.
Sure.
I just don't think that they can properly communicate on the level that some of these owners think.
I don't know. This one in particular, and I'm surprised you picked this one.
Yeah.
Because I think that there's a lot of like not legit ones, and I think this is the legit one. Although I've heard a lot of people like duet these videos and comment on them and say, oh, I heard the dog did this and I heard the dog did that. And I'm thinking, I've seen most of them and I don't remember any of that. But
Yeah.
I will say this one seems to be the most interesting. Like the dog once was like clearly sleeping and dreaming and it looked like it was having like a nightmare or something. And she came over and like pet him slowly, like it's okay. And the dog woke up kind of startled, and then stood up and like kind of looked around. She's like, "Are you okay?" And the dog walked over and hit before, and then she's like, "What before?" And it was like dreaming, and then she's like, "Yeah, you were dreaming before. What was it about?" And then it hit like stranger and dog. It's like, oh, a strange dog was bothering you, and the dog hit yes, and I was like,
Yeah.
that's nuts. I don't think I've ever tried to have a conversation with an animal about its dreams.
I don't know because
You don't buy into
no,
any of that?
I really, I'm sorry, I don't. Like, I don't know. I like I said, animals are intelligent and they have, their feelings, and things that they go through, and I'm not discrediting any of that, but like I don't know. There's a couple things because it's number one, like, what is this happening in other countries? Are other countries doing this with pets and communicating?
You know what? That's a good question. I've only seen. Well, you know what? No, I've seen English people. So in England, and then Australia.
Okay.
Australia.
Yeah.
But outside of English speaking countries,
Yeah.
I have not seen it.
Yeah, because I haven't seen it either, and
But I don't get recommended a lot of videos that aren't in English.
yeah, I mean, I don't either. And I was like searching for it. And I'm like, yeah, I don't see this happening in other countries. So like, it's one thing. It's weird. It's, like, I don't know. I don't know if it's the majority in America, but strange that it's English speaking countries for one.
Okay.
And two, I don't know. I'm just not.
But you can train a dog to like sit or stay or heel.
Yes, yeah, I get that.
So you know that they understand certain words.
Yeah, I get that. I'm just not sure that like because you have to be able to like translate what a dream means to a dog. So like
Yes, and this channel in particular, it talked a lot about the training, and they started out with, I believe, just 1 or 2 buttons.
yeah.
And I think this dog, because I have 2 dogs, and they're both doing it, but I think this one is this is the original one, and I believe they're up to 40 some buttons,
Yeah.
which seems to be about the limit. Even to incorporate a new button, they have to talk a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, and I understand it could be a process. It's not like, day one type thing.
Well, how old do you think, like, if you were to translate this into human intelligence, how old do you think like a dog like this would be? Like a 1-year-old or 2-year-old? Because they say like pigs are really smart, and some of those pigs that people keep as pets, I've heard are the equivalent of like a 3-year-old.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I was probably saying like a 3 or 4-year-old. I would say so.
Oh, okay. I thought pigs were smarter, but okay. But either way, I mean, you got kids,
Yeah.
you know where they were at different ages.
Yeah.
So isn't it sort of like that? There's a certain amount you can teach them, and
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, like, because the other thing too is that like you don't have a whole lot of like inner species communicating like
no, that's why I think this is cool.
yeah, because I mean dogs are not communicating with cats or like with aside from like signs of like aggression or other things like that, or like
Sure.
marking territory, animals aren't really communicating with each other.
Well, I mean, they do through whatever noises they make, but I would say it's probably not as intricate as our language.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things I think is cool, is because we were always able to like give a dog a command or something, or call them or something like that. But a lot of times when they were trying to get your attention or humans' attention to go do something, like come follow me or open this for me, or
Yeah.
they would make noises and touch it with their paw, but what they really meant is difficult to figure out. So I think this is it's an interesting way to show a window into.
Yeah, I suppose.
Are you buying it a little bit, Mal?
I don't know.
I think a lot of it's faked, but I
Yeah.
think this one is legit.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, nothing against this creator, and like I said, this was like I stumbled upon this video, and then I think towards the middle, the owner was like, after, she was like, from here on, it got a little bit, like confusing or complicated, like trying to communicate. Like, you know, the dog was kind of maybe like all over the place with whatever.
And I've seen the dog get a little frustrated sometimes, you know, and the owner sits there and she works with him and
Yeah.
or works with her and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And like, and I have kids and, you know, I think like my youngest, you know, just when she's trying to like communicate with everyone and maybe she says a word wrong and nobody understands her. She says something and, you know, she starts getting frustrated. So I get that part of it when she feels like no one can understand what she's saying. And she's like, I'm saying, you know, she thinks she's saying it clearly, but then, you know, gets frustrated. So
Oh, now I feel kind of bad because your family was over here, what was it, like 2 weeks ago or something, and they were swimming, and she was saying something to me, and she kept repeating the same thing.
Yeah.
And I looked at your like middle daughter, and she just kind of like shrugged her shoulders, like, eh.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was kind of funny. So I looked at her, and I was like, "What are you saying?" And I said something that I knew she wasn't saying.
yeah.
And then she said whatever she was saying again, and then I said the false thing again, and then she goes, "No."
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I thought we were joking around here, but you are now mad at me.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoops.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, I don't know, maybe when, you know, same type of thing when, you know, you're trying to communicate with someone,
Right.
you know, and you get frustrated because they're like, why don't you understand what I'm saying?
Maybe I shouldn't have done that. Well, live and learn.
Yeah.
You want me any more of this? Or you good?
No, I'm good with that one now.
Okay. This is Ray William Johnson, not the person on the screen, but this is his channel.
Okay, yeah.
And he's been on the internet for a long time. He is definitely old school.
Yeah.
He used to do a different show, and now he's got more of a resurgence around like a lot of these shorts, either on TikTok or YouTube. And I don't know, I find him hilarious. I found him hilarious a long time ago. I still find him hilarious now.
Yeah.
He also has his own band.
Oh, nice.
And he's got some friends, and they in the past they had done like skits and things like that.
Yeah.
But recently, what's been cracking me up about him is he'll duet videos, but he'll take them to like an extreme. So wait a second. So this is another YouTuber. She's been around for quite a while too. She used to do Vines back in the day, and she put out a video, and this was from like I think a couple years ago. But then Ray duets it.
Yeah.
So here we go.
I'm back, bitches. And I don't want to hear I'm acting different.
I'm back, bitches.
Okay, wait a second. First of all, she was holding her phone,
Yeah.
and he's holding a pack of ramen. What is it? Let's just back this up just a little bit.
Back, bitches. And I don't want to that I'm acting different.
That's hilarious. I know.
It's just so it's so messed up.
Yeah.
The whole thing of when we get to him,
Yeah.
Here I'm acting different.
I'm back, bitch.
he's got everything. He's got the shirt down.
Yeah.
He's got the pack of ramen. Okay.
Yeah, which-
All right. So there was another video, and this is him again too. And a lot of times, like he just will duet things that are going on in the news and or in public or however you want to say it.
Yeah.
This has been all over the place this week, and he was one of them that covered it here. And then later on, I saw Philip DeFranco do it, and a bunch of other people do it. And then I started seeing it on the news.
Yeah.
But have you seen anything about this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So here, let's play this.
Norman family, they have 6 kids. They decide to become family vloggers. So they film all these wholesome vlogs with the whole family, and they get really popular on YouTube. But then people started to notice they had a really harsh parenting style. Like sometimes the mom would withhold food as punishment.
I'm only
Yikes.
going to say it one more time, and then you're going to lose the privilege to eat dinner.
She
Oh,
also
yikes.
took away her son's bed as punishment.
Bedroom was taken away for 7 months, and then you give it back like
Oh,
And see, I just want to say right here, He says my bedroom was taken away for 7 months and then he just gave it back.
Yeah.
And then she smiles.
Yeah. 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 Like she's like, it's a funny thing. Like she's like, it was a prank or something, you know?
Yeah. Wait, let's keep playing this.
couple weeks ago.
And then one night, their neighbors get a knock at the door, and they answer it, and it's one of the kids from the vlogger family. And he's 12, and he had duct tape on his hands and feet where he had been tied up. He also had open wounds, and he was severely malnourished. The boy had been tied up by his own mother, the family vlogger, and her business partner. And he was able to escape by climbing out a window and running to the neighbor's house where he asked for food and water. So the neighbor immediately called the police.
A 12-year-old male showed up with tape around his legs Thursday asking for help, said he was afraid, asking for police.
So this nice Mormon family, they have 6 kids.
Okay. So now we're just repeating it
Yeah.
again.
Okay.
But
Yeah. Wow. That's craziness.
it's nuts. And the thing is they've actually been getting some criticism for quite some time because they've had a channel out for a while. It's actually taken down now, but it was called 8 Passengers. And they had, I think they would call it like a stricter parenting style. But every time, you know, people online would complain to them, they would read the comments or whatever saying, you know, you guys are monsters and whatever they were saying. The mother and the father would reply and they would say things like, you know, well, you know, you just don't understand, and that we love our kids very much, and that you are just getting triggered, and that you have some type of distortion field, and that, you know, you feel as if you should be good friends with your kids, and we're not good friends with our kids. We're loving parents.
Okay.
But at the same time, you catch them doing things like taking one of the kids' bedrooms away for 7 months.
Right.
And she's openly said that none of the kids are allowed to have any privacy because kids shouldn't have privacy, and then that it is her house and that they're like just guests there.
Oh, wow.
And that she needs to know every single thing about them in order to be a good parent. What were the other things? So the 12-year-old that escaped the house and went next door or to a neighbor's house and alerted the police. The mother, whose name is Ruby Frankie, and her business partner were arrested about a week and a half ago.
Okay.
So this is probably going to come out in probably a week. So you'll know when we're recording this.
Yeah.
But they've been charged with 6 felony counts of child abuse. And the deal with that is that in Utah, if they were to stack those, like let's say they were to get maximum time on these things, they can't have a sentence for more than 30 years of, what would you call it? Not concurrent, but
Consecutive.
consecutive, yes. So she's looking at a maximum of 30 years, or at least they both are. But isn't this nuts? I mean, it was a family vlogger.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And they put all
All
of this
out there.
online. Yeah.
Yeah. Involuntarily, they put all of that out there. It's not like,
Yeah. And I think what is really, a lot of this is messed up. One of the things that's, how do I even say this? I'm trying to be delicate here. It's not just the fact that they're doing all of these horrible things, which I think that they're horrible. I don't think that they're doing strict parenting.
Yeah.
I think that there has been a line that's crossed. Past that, to put it all online,
Yeah.
it's just kind of amazing, and I think that is actually another level of trust being broken between the parents and the kids.
Yeah.
Because the kids don't get a say in whether this should go online or not. This is what they do for a business, and it just, they film it and then edit it and put it online. And if the kids don't want it, you can clearly see in several clips that they don't want any part of this.
Yeah. And I'm sure that with, you know, with everything you just told me about it, I'm sure that she feels like that they shouldn't have a say, you know, that it's, you know, it's her house, it's her rules, it's her video, her vlog, whatever, and she's gonna kind of do as she pleases.
I think that's
regardless.
exactly how she feels, because one of the things that were shown was she filmed having the puberty talk with her kids,
Oh, really?
and not just one of them,
Oh, with all of them, or well,
like
I mean, just-
independently over time as they got to age.
Oh, jeez.
She's also in the past filmed like their first shaving, like for the little girls like shaving their legs and things.
Yikes.
And one of the videos that's surfaced is she gets the camera out, she goes and sits next to a kid, and she looks into the camera, and she's like, whatever the child's name is, has been asking me all summer to shave her legs. And then she flips the camera around, and you can clearly see
Yeah, that's a little-
the kid's like shock and like horror,
Yeah.
and goes, no, I wasn't. And I'm like, what are you ambushing your children now?
Yeah, there needs to be a little bit of privacy. Yeah, that I can see that as being mortifying, because even though like that maybe in itself, you know, especially for grown-ups, it's not a big deal. People probably openly talk about like shaving their legs or whatever. But
Sure.
but yeah, I mean, for kids, that's something brand new. You know, you don't want that broadcast all over.
Well, that was one of the things that I was thinking before any of this other stuff came out that was a problem. Like, if an adult wants to vlog, they basically trade their freedom for money.
Right.
And that's their choice.
Yeah.
They're an adult.
Yeah.
But I shouldn't say freedom, I should say privacy
Yeah.
for money.
Yeah.
And that's their choice. Sorry, I don't know why I'm having such trouble coming up with words.
Yeah.
But my deal is that I don't think a child understands the full ramifications of that. I mean, just imagine if your parents did something embarrassing and then they filmed it and you weren't cool with it and they didn't care, and then the next day you went to school and all of the children, your friends or classmates or whatever, watch it.
Yeah.
And I just think how embarrassing. And the kids have said on camera several times that they don't have friends because they don't know who to trust.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't want to be around other kids because they're embarrassed. And yet the mom just smiles and keeps on filming. And I think there is so many red flags here
Yeah.
beyond all of the horrible stuff that they went to jail for. Or I should say allegedly.
Right. Yeah.
Allegedly.
Yeah. You know, and man, you know, I
Well,
think,
it's not allegedly. They're in jail, but allegedly did.
right.
I should say.
You know, there's another thing too, is that like, because you're right, when people put the kids on the channel, it's funny because in a lot of times you'll see the opposite. You'll see, you know, kids who kind of want to be filmed, or like, you know, kids who want to create their own like YouTube channel or whatever, and people will have the commentary that the parents are like getting famous or whatever off the kid because whatever, the kid's doing something cute,
Yeah.
they film whatever. And here you have like the total opposite. You know, we have like the kids who have no interest in having these things filmed, but it's forced on
I
them.
think part of the problem is that they don't have any say in it.
Yeah.
And I think this is an actual problem with family vlogging, where you're going to make the center of your channel about your family, which includes your kids,
Yeah.
and you don't give them a choice, or even if you do, I'm not necessarily sure. It's almost like child actors. There's a lot of laws that are now in place to protect them,
Yeah.
but there's none of those laws apply to these vloggers.
Right.
And I'm not saying I have problems with all vloggers. There's a lot of vloggers that I watch that have families and once in a while show their kids, but it's not the main reason.
Right.
You know, like they could be. I watched this one guy. I remember he was outside in the garage working on something in the garage. One of the kids comes out, sees that he's got a camera in his hand, and just kind of like, hey, can I help?
Yeah.
But that was like 30 seconds of the entire video, and the whole video is probably 25 minutes long. But this is like
Yeah.
camera right in the kid's face.
Yeah. You know, I think the other thing too is that like, you know, I know that a lot of parents are going to be like, you can't tell me how to like parent my kids or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think that you have to have a general like interest in like Like you have to like your kids, you know, for the people that they are. Otherwise, you're basically just seeing them as like property or not as individuals.
Something to mold or something. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, like and as young as they are, I mean, I think that you just have to respect them for the person that they are, who they're becoming, and enjoy being around them, enjoy that, you know, enjoy learning about them. Like, yeah, you're their parent, you're their disciplinary, you know, you're their protector, but at the same time, like, you have to enjoy who they are, because otherwise it's going to lead to something like you have no interest in who they are as a person.
Well, evidently people have been sounding the alarm for quite a while. And, you know, the show was called 8 Passengers, which, you know, 6 kids, 2 adults.
Yeah.
Okay. But their oldest kid is out of the house now because she went away to college. And when she went away to college, she started finding out that a lot of the ways that she was raised and things that happened inside of her house are not normal because she started talking to other people.
Yeah.
And then she kind of distanced herself from the family. This is what I'm reading online and what people are reporting. But the oldest daughter actually had called the authorities before. She called the authorities a couple years ago because she was scared that her younger brothers and sisters were in the house with no one around, and her mom had left for St. George to hang out with her friend for like 5 days.
Oh, wow.
And she was trying to get the authorities over there, and they went over there and they looked and they could see the kids through the window. They couldn't get any of them to come to the door. They couldn't get any of them to open the window to talk. And they eventually just went upstairs where they were out of sight. And then the police had to leave because they were like, I don't see any crime being committed here. You know, this could be just, I'm going to guess they're thinking like maybe babysitting or something like that.
Did they knock on the door?
They did. But
nobody came to the door?
the kids could be seen through the window, but didn't actually have contact with the police or DCFS or whoever came out at the time. Then when this happened a week and a half ago, she had posted, the oldest daughter, it's about time. I hope that my brothers and sisters are safe, or something to that effect. I don't have the exact quote here. But then there's also her sister, the mother's sisters. They all have online accounts, and they're all influencers. And they also posted, you know, we've seen a lot of things over time, and we've tried to say things to her, but I guess it fell on deaf ears. And so they have been posting kind of the same effect of like, it's about time.
Oh, wow.
Which is just nuts that everyone around her is like, oh, and the husband is, they're separated now.
Oh, yeah.
And the whole thing just makes me feel like back in the day when people were making comments and you were making comments back where you were saying, oh, you guys are just triggered and you live in like this distortion field and that we know what's best. And I just think, what is it going to take to get through to you? Now she could lose her freedom.
Yeah. And was like, so the husband wasn't in on that type of behavior or treatment of the kids with the vlogging. Was he like agreed to that?
In the videos, it looked like he was saying, this is what we agreed to.
Oh.
But I can't tell if when the cameras were off, if he didn't always agree to them.
Yeah.
There was one moment where she was complaining about the kids leaving things around the house. She went around the house. She picked up everything that was out of place, threw it in a garbage bag. Then at the dinner table, held up the garbage bag and said, you know, since you guys aren't going to pick up, I went around the house and I grabbed everything. I'm going to throw all this away. The oldest kid that was still in the house said, hey, that's my homework. It's like, I need that back. And she was like, oh, no. You can, if you want something out of this garbage bag, you can pay me.
Oh, no.
And he said, that's like half my grade. I need to turn that in tomorrow. And she's like, well, you can pay me for it. Unless, and then she looked over at the husband like, do you have something else? And then he suggested that he could do a chore to get it back. And I just thought, what are you doing? And she was saying, I need to teach you the value of these things. And I'm thinking, what?
Yeah. Okay. So, man, listen, I'm not parental expert. But like, so they have multiple children, obviously,
6.
you know, and so I'm sure there's a lot going on in the home.
Sure.
You know, all different ages, not like they're all twins, so not all the same age. Not in the
Right. They're
same
all
group,
different
right?
ages.
But like, I don't know, man. Like, I mean, we've been kids before. We've had our own chores. You know, we've had, you know, things like that. Like, I don't necessarily, you know, and I have a situation now where like, you know, my kids will play with some stuff and then they'll just leave their stuff on the floor and then move on to something else. But, and I'm sure it's different with having multiple kids, but like, there's got to be a way. There's got to be some type of conversation before you put all their stuff in the bag. Because
But even if there was, would you throw away their homework?
no, not at all. You know, and even if you're using that as a scare tactic, you know, I mean, hopefully, you know, I don't know, because I don't know the situation after that. So hopefully, you know, the lesson might have been like, listen, I'm tired of telling you guys to clean up after yourselves. You know, if it keeps happening like this, then this is going to be the solution by me. I'm going to put everything in the bag, and I'm just going to assume you don't care about it because you're just leaving it all over.
Okay. Here's another thing.
Yeah.
One of the kids was playing with what looked like children's scissors. What would you call them? Like safety scissors or whatever?
yeah.
Okay. And she had cut something. And so the mom explained, if you cut something one more time in my house, and this kid has got to be, I don't know, 4.
Yeah.
She picks up her favorite stuffed animal and goes, I'm going to cut the head off of this. Now,
Was it a craft? They were doing like a craft, so cutting paper or whatever, or pretty
I'm not even
destructive?
entirely sure because the channel's been taken down. So the only thing I got to see was what was clips from other people's channels. But, you know, a child of that age probably equates that stuffed animal to like a best friend.
Yeah.
I mean, as an adult, we would go, well, that's just, you know, an item or a thing or, you know, but it's almost like the equivalent of saying, I'll cut the head off your friend.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that seems super
Yeah,
harsh.
yeah, I get it. Yeah, and that could be very traumatic, especially for the kid if the parent follows through on doing that.
Like if you're one of your kids cut something in the house, what would you do?
Well, I don't know.
Like a timeout or something, or
Yeah, something similar. I mean, I could totally see a parent, depending on what it is, like in the previous behavior. Like if a child did that, you know, out of spite or to make another sibling angry or something like that. If they didn't care and like cut somebody, you know, their siblings' clothes or something like that with the scissors, I could see like, I don't know, I would necessarily cut up another stuffed animal in front of them as easy as like,
I mean, they didn't.
I'm going to throw it away.
They didn't actually end up doing that, but
Yeah.
they were just that was the threat, and the kid instantly started crying. Or another time, a teacher called her or texted her and said the 5-year-old had forgot their lunch at home and asked if the mom could drop off a lunch. Then the mom explained to the teacher, no, it's that child's responsibility to prepare their lunch in the morning. And I asked them if they did, and they said yes. And then she explained to the camera, I hope nobody else gets uncomfortable with my kid going hungry for the day. I want her to be hungry so that she learns her lesson.
That's crazy.
And it's like a 5-year-old.
Yeah, that's nuts.
And the other thing is that the kid that went next door, the 12-year-old, the guy was saying that he seemed malnourished. And I'm just thinking,
Oh yeah.
you know, a child during developmental stages, if you don't feed them enough food, it can stunt their growth. It can cause other long-term effects. I mean, it's one thing for an adult to like go without a meal or maybe go without food for a day, but a child that is exceptionally bad.
Right. Yeah.
And I just think that is way over the line.
Yeah. That in that instance, that definitely wasn't the right punishment or lesson to teach a child. You know, I mean, you could easily do something else and say, you know, I'm gonna bring you your lunch since you forgot it, but when you come home, you know, no electronics or whatever. You have an extra
TV
chore or
or-
something.
yeah.
You know, because you know whatever you're supposed to remember your lunch or that's your whatever. But yeah, to not bring them, that's a little crazy. That's not.
Yeah, I felt that was excessive. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Everyone's talking about the things that she got arrested for because they are horrible. But on the side, past all of the stuff that's illegal, I mean, they arrested her for it. I'm just thinking, when you basically sell your kids' privacy online as a business,
Yeah.
there has been so many child actors that have grown up, and even the ones that are like completely well adjusted, they will say in interviews, "Wow, I was really lucky
Yeah.
because I was put in a lot of these situations that children shouldn't be put in, and I'm surprised that I'm not screwed up." And others are just screwed up. And I almost feel like it's a trope nowadays to talk about childhood actors. What is the long-term effects from this? Like, vlogging has not been around long enough for us to know what's going to happen when they're 20 or 30 or something.
Yeah, but once again, it's easily can be related to just like some childhood trauma. Like, there's no way to know how this is going to manifest itself later on in those.
I think this
kids'
entire
lives.
environment is childhood drama.
Yeah, yeah, and so I mean, it'll be, you'll be able to see. I was gonna say it'll be interesting, and not like interesting in that way. Not like this is going to be fun for the kids or whatever, but it'll just be interesting to see how that trauma manifests itself later on in the kids' lives. Hopefully, because you said it was the mother and her business partner, like it wasn't the husband that got arrested.
No, it was the mother and the business partner that got arrested. The husband seems to be, I mean, in the kids' lives, but not in, like, he was in court.
Yeah.
And I think the oldest boy, the second oldest child, lives with him now.
Okay.
But the younger kids were with her. But when you look at the older videos, they seem to all be doing these things,
Yeah.
but you don't know what's going on off camera.
Right. Yeah.
But either way, consenting, basically have your children in this environment the entire time, I think that is also screwed up.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was gonna say before, like, hopefully the husband or the father is, maybe he's not having the same persuasion, so maybe he will be a little bit more of a support system for the kids going forward.
Right.
Hopefully, because they're going to need that. I mean, it sounds, very traumatic for all of them, all ages of the kids. Okay. So the other thing that I wanted to mention was I ran into this study that was done a couple years ago. It was done in like 2015.
Okay.
Somehow it must be making its like reemergence right now. I'm not sure if another study was done because in my research I couldn't find a new study. I just saw this one, but so anyway, a group of people were put in a room, and they were asked to just be like alone by themselves for 15 minutes with their thoughts.
Okay.
Okay. So first of all, does that sound, terrifying to you? Anything about that sound?
No, that doesn't sound terrifying. Is this the what do they call it? A Koa chamber or the acoustic chamber?
I don't think that's.
Oh,
this,
okay.
No.
Okay, keep going then.
Okay.
So the answer is no so far. It
No,
doesn't
so far,
sound
okay.
terrifying.
Okay. So basically, like, no one else is in there with you. It's not like some crazy thing. You're just sitting in there quietly for 15 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. And then I guess that if the people found it too boring to be sitting in there for 15 minutes by themselves alone with their thoughts, they could voluntarily like shock themselves with this little shocker. Give themselves an electric shock.
Okay.
Okay. Have you heard about that at all?
No,
Okay.
so they're just sitting there quietly, just thinking about stuff, or they could shock themselves.
Right, yeah.
It's up to them.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, if you were asked to do this, 15 minutes alone by yourself, just sitting in a room, quiet, nothing going on, do you think you could do it for 15 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, would you have, because, by yourself for 15 minutes, I mean, it's longer than you think.
Yeah, it is. But I daydream all the time.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So
I would probably just start thinking about all the stuff that I need to do and take care of, and yeah.
Okay. So apparently, for a lot of people, 15 minutes alone with your thoughts is not okay.
Oh, what they
No, not
they start
okay.
to freak out.
Well, because people start to a majority of the people like shock themselves with the shocker. You know, like you don't have to do this. You know, you could just sit there silently for 15
I'm
minutes.
sorry. The way you just said shocker made me think.
Oh, jeez.
We all remember that,
Like
right?
the shock. Oh, good. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So
Maybe that was our generation's thing.
I don't know. Maybe you're gonna bring something back. Okay. Whatever. Okay. So I just thought that it was interesting that it was a large percentage of men who like opted to shock themselves, and then I think that there was one gentleman who like shocked themselves over 100 times. With
Like,
this,
how hard were these shocks?
it wasn't like deathly.
It wasn't like
I mean,
a taser or something. Okay.
no. But just the fact that like you just can't sit there for 15 minutes by yourself with your thoughts, like hands on your lap or something, just hands to your side, sit there for 15 minutes silently. Like
So did they explain why they can't sit there silently?
no, but like it was men and women, you know, like the majority of men, you know, and then it was like, you know, 65 or something % of women did it, or 30, whatever. But like, I don't know. I just thought that was interesting because when I first heard this, I was like, yeah, 15 minutes silently, cool. I can do that.
Yeah.
That's just 15 minutes.
But do you
peace
think
and
all
quiet.
of them were like that too until they got in there and then they started shocking themselves?
I guess. I don't know. Maybe, but like, I don't know. I just wondered because, you know, I don't know. Sometimes I'm not a very big talker. And I don't know. I enjoy quiet time. So it's not a big deal to me, but like, I don't know. I mean, I know that there's people who don't want to be alone.
Right.
You know, and there's people who just have that, you know, that fear or that quirk. So it was just interesting that like 15 minutes, it's not an hour, it's 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's 15 minutes.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can understand if it was like an hour.
So what were they trying to test here? What was the whole point
I
of
don't know.
this thing?
That's good. Because I got,
I feel like this is the beginning of Ghostbusters,
Yeah.
and all he's doing is
Yeah.
like pissing people
Yeah.
off
Listen,
for
I
his
ju-
personal enjoyment.
got-
And scamming on women.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just got hung up because I was like, 15 minutes sounds great. Like, I'll take 15 minutes anytime.
Well, you have 3 kids at home. You probably just want 15 minutes of
Yeah.
peace.
Yeah. Yeah. So, wow. Yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was very interesting.
So the other thing we wanted to talk about was, or I should say, is working from home.
Okay.
I feel like ever since the pandemic, it's been a thing.
Yeah.
And it was partially a thing before, but, you know, I think a lot of people would work remotely in emergency situations or maybe doing after hours work. I used to do IT for a living.
Yeah.
And of course, I had remote access and I was able to work from my home. I would do could do changes and things during the night, or sometimes the company I worked for, they basically worked 24 hours a day, but they were different because they were global. So it was, you know, the United States, Europe, and then Asia. And, you know, people in other offices in, like, let's say Europe or Asia would call me in the middle of the night if there was an issue with something that I was responsible for, and I would have to wake up and then I could work remotely.
Yeah.
But I think the remote work that we're talking about now is people just working from home full time.
Yeah.
And I feel as if it's become more of a trend nowadays. And I just wanted to know, what are your thoughts on that for all the repercussions and everything else that goes along with this?
Yeah. Just working from home.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like when that option became available, that was, you know, could really like broaden things up. You know, I felt like that was a very good idea. You know, there are some jobs where, you know, it shouldn't be a big deal. I mean, I'm sure that there's like a lot of customer service jobs where you don't necessarily need to be in an office. You can have all your equipment and then work remote. You know, it definitely does add a lot of flexibility for the people that have those jobs. And I don't think that's a big deal. I don't think it should be going away anytime.
So I've got some statistics for you. And I'm reading this off of well, now I'm not sure where I got this. It felt trusted when I was reading it.
Okay.
But they say that 66% of U.S. employees work remotely, at least part-time.
Okay.
And I feel like that's how my old job was. Like I would go into the office, but sometimes on nights or weekends I'd have to do things, or sometimes there would be an emergency, and I would just log in from home.
Yeah.
They say currently 68% of Americans would prefer to work home full time. So 68, so even more than people do part time. And at least 50% of the employers believe remote work reduces absenteeism.
Okay.
And I can tell you, when I worked from home, because there was a period right before I left my last job that I was technically a remote worker. But before that period, there was a period where I was part-time in the office and part-time not in the office. It was a Monday, Tuesday I was in the office, and no, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday I was in the office, and Thursday and Friday I would work remotely.
Yeah.
When that happened, I'll tell you, I felt like I worked more because my office was just the other room. So it wasn't like I needed to get in the car and drive to work and all of that stuff. I would wake up at the exact same time, except for I'd log in earlier. And you know, if somebody was like, "Hey, can you stay like another 25 minutes or an hour or whatever?" And that didn't seem like that big a deal because one, I was already home. So when I actually finished for the day, I could just walk 10 feet and start doing what I want to do. But when I'm in the office, if they're like, "Hey, can you stay another, you know, I don't know, half an hour or whatever," I'm still thinking, well, it's going to take me 45 minutes to drive home. And then I've got to do this and then I've got to do that. And I'm just thinking, at what point am I going to be able to shut down and turn my brain off and relax?
Yeah.
But when I was doing it from here, it just felt like it didn't feel like as big a deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I felt like I put more in.
Okay. Yeah. I could see that. So I could also see, you know, where maybe working from home doesn't necessarily give you the option of like, because like you're working, like you're, I guess.
Were you talking about like a separation?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So like, you know, 'cause-
Work-life balance.
yeah, right. But yeah, so you're working from home and maybe you feel obligated in a way, or you know, that to do more work because it's all right there. It's not like you have to go take a drive back to the office because you forgot something. Maybe you know, there's more you can do, or something else you remembered and you're like, oh, I can just log back in, you know, at home. So there's not really that separation. So maybe there's people who like are doing extra work while they're at home when they don't really have to.
And to be honest, we had you know, Zoom, and we had IP phones, and we had instant message, type of instant message, and the deal was we were in constant communication with each other anyways.
Right. Yeah.
But back to the stats for just a second. So pre-pandemic, only 6% of American workers worked fully remote.
Okay.
And I actually tried to get that going. And they were very resistant against it, as if I was going to scam them or, I don't know, not do my work from home or something.
Yeah.
They also were very concerned that if I was outside the office, that I would be out of the loop on things.
Yeah.
And there was a whole situation set up where I would have to show up for, I think it was just like a half a week a month or 1 week a month or something like that. Or 4 days a month, so that I would be in the loop.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I thought all of that was completely unnecessary. It didn't help my productivity.
Yeah.
And it definitely added to stress because I don't live in that city anymore where my job was. So I'd have to travel to that city and then, you know, find a place to stay. Well, I mean, I pre-book it and everything. I knew where I was going. But my point is like, it was just easier to do it from home. And I didn't feel like I gained anything. And just to have like only 6% of Americans were doing it before the pandemic. And now, what did I say before? Well, there's 66% that are doing it at least part-time, but there's 68 that would prefer to do it all the time. There's also 16% of companies are fully remote now.
Oh, okay.
Like they don't even have offices.
Oh,
After the pandemic, or during it, when everyone was working from home, I remember talking to several of my friends, and they're like, "Dude, this is way nicer. This is this. I understand why you wanted this." And
Yeah.
I'm like, "Yeah."
yeah.
And then after it happened, I guess some of them went back to the office, but then some of them still do a lot from home, and they talked about how the office is more of like a timeshare. Like I'm going to be here at this time, this day, and as if they're sharing like a single desk.
Yeah.
So the desk is full every day. It's just not the same person every day.
Okay.
And I don't know. I feel like that's healthier.
Yeah.
Like we talked about this in a past episode. It seems like the United States is on the bottom of the pile as far as personal time and work life
Right.
balance. And I think these things could still, produce the high level of work or high. What am I looking for? The productivity that I guess Americans
Yeah.
are producing, but then at the same time, give them a little bit more joy and take a little more stress
Right.
off their
Yeah,
stress off their life.
I remember when that term work-life balance, like, I mean, I'm sure it's always been there, but I feel like within the last, I don't know, maybe 10 years, 8 years, that it's become kind of commonplace. But yeah, and it's difficult because, it's not difficult, but I feel like for a lot of employers, that's not really on their radar, so it was kind of something new where the workers kind of pushed that.
I mean, it's definitely new. The site I was reading said that they believe by 2025 that 36.2 million Americans will be working remotely, and that it'll become the new normal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is fine. I mean, I would work remotely. I feel like that would, open up a lot of opportunity, for different, home life opportunities or things like that. So yeah, I don't, feel like it's any downside. However, the one downside, have you ever had to call like a customer service, like appliance customer service or anything else?
Yeah.
And they're working from home. Or you
Yeah.
can kind of tell because kind of the quality of the audio material is not so great.
Oh, you're talking about the delay?
Yeah, that too. Sometimes there's a terrible echo. Like I had the call recently, and I'm like, yes, I need to report
You know what?
troubleshooting.
I can tell you that has to do a lot with wearing a headset.
Yeah,
Some of them aren't wearing a headset, which I think they should be told you need to wear a headset.
Yeah.
But then the other piece of it is the actual headset.
Mm-hmm.
I have a really nice Plantronics headset.
Yeah.
And the reason why I purchased that was because back when I had a job, they supplied one for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved it so much that when I turned in my gear because I wasn't working there anymore, I ran out and bought it.
yeah,
But it's not cheap.
yeah, yeah.
It was a couple $100, and it's got noise canceling and noise isolation.
Nice.
So even if like other people are in the room and talking, it's very hard to hear anyone but the person that is using the headset.
Yeah. And then how do you tell someone like, hey, there's a lot of feedback here. I'm hearing my echo like in a delay. So every word I say, I hear it again. But yeah,
But
like,
how do you tell them? What I would do
I mean,
is,
obviously, I know you can tell them.
yeah,
but,
I would just straight up be like, hey, I'm hearing an echo.
yeah.
Do you have a problem with that other than like maybe the technology they're using?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I would, I would sign up if I could work from home. Not a problem.
I will say though, it's caused some side effects or people have found new scams there were some people during the pandemic that were working remotely and had taken on second jobs. And they were working remotely for two full-time jobs, not telling either employer that they were doing the other job.
Okay.
And they were basically
Well,
double dipping
well, good-
on.
Well, good on them.
Yeah, but
'Cause
there's
they
a
got
lo-
some extra money
There's a
coming
lot of like, what would you call it?
Oh, well, like a conflict of interest or something.
Yeah. But I was gonna say like an employment contract
Yeah.
that probably says you can't do
Oh,
that.
Yeah. Okay.
So it could be illegal.
Yeah.
because you're breaching a contract.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought that was messed up. But I've got another site here, Forbes, and they're saying as of 2023, there's 12.7% of full-time employees work from home, while 28.2% do it in a hybrid model. Now, they think that by 2025, the full-time working from home could be as high as 22%. So it's definitely rising. And I think everyone got a taste of it and they thought, this is what I want. And then the employers were like, no, everyone needs to come back to the office, maybe citing like lower productivity or things like that. I mean, if you've got those problems, I would say work with the employees. Evidently, they're not able to work remotely. But I think that quite a few people are. And I think people are going to start putting their foot down. I mean, didn't we hear just a little while ago that Gen Z was doing quiet quitting?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
if you push people hard enough and don't give them anything that they want, then you're going to have a whole nother problem on your hands.
Right.
Because I haven't been to any place around here, even the grocery store, the gas station, or McDonald's or whatever, that didn't say now hiring.
Yeah. True.
There's signs all over the place. And I think people were like, well, I'm either going to do what I want or I'm not going to do any of this.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
Which is kind of nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope that it doesn't go away anytime soon. I'm sure that there are plenty of people who benefit from, remote work. And as long as they keep that equipment up to date and, supply some quality things and, even customer service position, jobs can benefit. Like, I don't want to hear any echoes anymore.
Yeah. Well, the last place, I will admit, the last place I worked, they were very technologically advanced, let's say.
Yeah.
They spent the money to have the nice things.
Yeah.
And it showed. I mean, the quality of not only the other employees, but also the equipment that we used from day to day to get the job done was very high level.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for them to spend hundreds of dollars on a headset, I think was probably a no-brainer.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, people can't hear people correctly? Well, just go get a good one and stop wasting my time with this.
Yeah.
And a lot of that happened, and, we got nice things.
Yeah, yeah, and I think the other thing too is that like it's good to see like companies or whatever like just looking out for the people, like looking out for workers. Even though like remote jobs maybe obviously it has a benefit to the company and not just to the employee, but I don't know.
But I was thinking, let's just say that some of the things that the employers are saying is correct, and that. I'm not saying everyone's saying this, but some employers are saying there's a lower productivity level.
Yeah,
Okay. Let's say that in order to get the job done that used to be able to get done with 10 people, it now takes 12. So now you got to pay 2 extra people. Okay. Well, that's going to cost you more money. But if you don't have an office and you don't have to pay all of that with the office, like not just the space, but the all the bills and then you have to pay outside people to do things like wire things up or decorate it or bring it in, build furniture, or then there's cleaning it, and there is a lot of things that go along.
yeah,
If you didn't have to do any of that, would that cancel out paying for a couple extra employees?
right.
Or, I mean, I don't know where your office is. Maybe it's in a major city and maybe it's very expensive.
True.
And so maybe it pays for itself not to have an office.
Yeah.
There's a lot of shared work spaces that you could rent, and you can always rent server room space and put all of your equipment someplace.
Yeah.
And then if you needed to have a meeting for some reason in person, you could all go someplace.
Right.
But the advancement of virtual conference rooms and video calls seems to be so great at this point.
Yeah,
What's
true.
the difference?
Yeah, and it's in the last couple of years, it definitely improved, you know, quite a bit from the onset. Because it feels like 2020 really boosted, obviously because of like the pandemic and everything. But you know, a couple of years out from that, you know, things have definitely improved.
Well, that's all I really had.
Yeah, same here. So very, very good conversation, and you know, anyone we've covered a lot in this. What hour has been an hour or so?
Something like that.
Yeah. So just leave us some comments. Let us know your thoughts and feelings on the things that we talked about.
Yeah, and I'd definitely like to know if you guys are working at home or working from home, I should say, or if you're working in an office and you want to work remotely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah. Continue that conversation.
All right. Thanks, guys. And for all of you that are watching this, it really would mean a lot to us if you could click the subscribe button. It really changes the metrics on
Yeah.
and wherever you're viewing this from.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.